Now, my implants were texturized, so they have these tiny little pockets, and in those little pockets is where mold can grow. He said her implants are definitely a link to her symptoms of why she's so sick. If you're even thinking about getting breast implants, stop and listen to this. Hi, I am Christina, and this is Healthy TV. 4 years ago, I had my implants removed because, like so many other women, they were making me sick. And I just want to share my story with you so that before you make this decision that will affect your life, you can have the full truth. I was actually very well endowed, well developed when I was a young girl. So I had very large breasts, same exact body. I'm probably the same size as I was in high school. And so, I had 2 children, and after nursing them, they completely sagged. And I remember getting undressed in front of my husband at the time and saying, so what do you think? And he said, you look pretty old. And I was so devastated. I thought, well, unless you pay for them to get done, you'll never see them again. So during that time, I started researching. I researching by talking to women. And I would run into women at the gym who had implants. And I would be in a locker room probably thinking it was weird, but I didn't care. I was so curious of what I should do, how I should do it. So I met quite a few women, and they would talk to me. They would even let me feel what they felt like, because I didn't know. This was very foreign to me. And I had such saggy breasts, and I can go like this, and they would reach my thighs. It was awful. Finally, here I am in the office of the doctor we chose, and he said to me, you don't need to go as big as your husband wants you to. It's not going to fit your body. I said, well, the only way he'll pay for it is if I go to what he wants. It was my husband. I had to do what he said. Well, lo and behold, there I go with these 350 cc's. So I had pretty much double D. And I'm a 32, small waist, small. I'm a 36. I'm small. I'm a size 2 with big boobs. And there I was back to when I was in high school. From day one, my face was swollen. I didn't feel good. And something in me said this was a mistake. But I ignored it, and then I tried to get used to them. And very shortly after I had those implants, they started to get hard, probably about 6 months. The capillaries hardened, just in layman's terms. And so my breasts were constantly hard. All breast implants are made of silicone, but the liquid is either saline or silicone. So back then it was only saline. So here I was, I couldn't lay on my stomach anymore. I was at the beach, it was uncomfortable. I wanted to lay on my back or whatever. During intercourse, I could never have my husband lay on me. It hurt constantly. So 20 years later, of course, I went through a divorce, and now I'm with Chris 20 years later, and I started getting super sick. I couldn't fight off anything. I had daily headaches, migraines, lethargic, low libido, loss of eyesight, hypothyroid, so low thyroid. I even lost my voice. Now, that's something that hasn't quite recovered, but that could be due to where I live now in the desert. Excuse me. So I started developing vocal polyps. I had dry throat syndrome. I was constantly clearing my throat, always dehydrated. I would drink electrolytes, water. I ate healthy, but I was dying. I could not understand what was happening to me. So one day, Chris said to me, I think you may have breast implant illness. He said it came up on my Instagram because I said to him one day, I wonder if I'm getting sick from my implants. I looked at 4 symptoms, and the main symptoms were brain fog, which I forgot to mention, brain fog, anxiety, depression, and something else. I gave him back his phone. I sat down and wrote this list, and there's about 33 to 43 symptoms on this list. I said, I have breast implant illness. I realized I had it. So I called my doctor, my general physician. I go in for an appointment. She wants to send me to a psychiatrist. I said, listen, I don't need a psychiatrist. I hear me from my phone. I said, there's a Facebook page called Breast Implant Illness and Healing by Nicole. Look, there was about 250 women was sharing their testimony after testimony of what they suffered from having implants. So she goes, okay, you're the second person that said this to me. I'm not going to ask you to get a psych evaluation. I'm going to have you go to all these different doctors. I went through so many doctor's appointments. I was so frustrated. I had to make jokes because they sent me to have a vaginal ultrasound. So I finally looked at them and I said, it's going to be really hard to see my breast from my vagina, but go ahead. Okay, this is what it takes for me to prove my point and to get these out, I'll do the vaginal ultrasound. So anyway, at some point I had to be humorous about it. They can't find anything wrong with me. And I finally said, somebody's got to be out there that could hear my story. So fortunately, Chris had a client who's a doctor, and he said, let's have her do an MRI. So they did an MRI. What he discovered was that the interior portion of my breast implant was deteriorating from the outer shell. So you have the inner shell and the outer shell, and it was deteriorating. And there were some dark spots. So what could that be? Mold. A lot of women have mold in their implants. Now, my implants were texturized. So they have these tiny little pockets. And in those little pockets is where mold can grow, which mold did grow. So thank God, he said her implants are definitely a link to her symptoms of why she's so sick. When we have a foreign object in our bodies, like the silicone-made implant, your body's going to reject it, but it's also going to leak out or leach out toxins. So that's how I got so sick, was from these toxins. I had them in for exactly 20 years. The very day that my implants came out, I felt amazing. The brain fog left, no more migraines. My thyroid is normal. My doctor, the one that thought I should see a psych, she said, I'm blown away. And all of a sudden, more and more women had made appointments to her saying the same thing. I'm 55 years old. I'm in menopause. My breasts are flecked up. I have no idea how. I don't even have a bra on right now. I would say you really have to love your body no matter what. I mean, especially moms who have 4 children. It's just life. You have to learn to embrace them. And that's what I did. I learned to embrace my saggy breasts 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I should have told my husband, you're going to have to love me the way I am, because I have to love myself the way I am. So honestly, it's a culture. It's a shock to look at your body and go, oh my gosh, I used to have perky breasts. They were beautiful, they were voluptuous, and now they're like saggy bananas or pears, whatever you want to describe them as. I think I probably should have saw a therapist back then to help me understand that this is just a part of life, and learn to love your body. And yeah, you're going to go through changes, but it's okay. And if you're single and you have a boyfriend who, want you to get that, you might want to rethink that relationship.